Ever feel like, I don't know, like reality has different settings? Kind of like on your phone, you know?
Interesting.
Today we're going to really dive deep into the source you sent over about the matrix of reality. We're talking about how universal truths play into our own individual experiences, the role of religion, spirituality, even psychedelics. You ready?
Absolutely. Sounds fascinating.
So the source you sent, it's a single document,
Right.
right?
That's right.
And it gets into some pretty heavy stuff right off the bat. So buckle up. We're about to unpack absolute versus relative reality.
Okay.
Imagine, like, the entire universe, everything that exists, everything that could ever exist, that's the absolute, right?
Right.
Now think about our own little corner of it, bound by what our senses can pick up, what we experience as humans, that's the relative.
Wow.
And get this, the source says even the impossible is part of the absolute.
Oh, so
Well, it's like setting boundaries for a game, right? Even the moves you can't make are still part of what defines the game itself.
that's a really interesting way to put it. So to truly understand reality, we need to look beyond just what we consider possible.
Exactly. We got to factor in what lies beyond those limits, even if it seems impossible to us. Pretty mind-blowing, huh?
Absolutely. It really makes you think about the limitations of our perception.
Right. And the source doesn't stop there. It tackles another head-scratcher contradiction.
Okay, this should be good. How does it approach that?
Well, it argues that contradictions are more about, like, the limits of our own thinking than actual glitches in reality. So just because our minds might struggle to grasp a concept.
It doesn't mean the concept itself is invalid. That makes me think about how often what seems impossible in one era becomes totally normal later on.
Right. Like 100 years ago, could you imagine us having these conversations with a little device in our pockets?
It's true. We're constantly pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible.
Exactly. And this source is challenging us to question our assumptions, to be open to the idea that there's way more to reality than we currently grasp.
I like it. So we've got the absolute, the relative, and this idea that our own brains might be holding us back from a bigger understanding. What's next?
Okay, so we're starting to see this potential link between like these different types of experiences. But I'm curious, if everything comes from this universal source, does that mean there's no such thing as a wrong choice?
Ah, that's a good question.
Well,
And you know what? The source actually addresses that directly.
oh, does it?
It does. It says that even within this system of universal potential, we still have free will.
Right.
And that includes the potential for making choices that don't really get us where we want to go.
Right, right. So even though there's this underlying like order to things, our individual choices still actually matter. It's not like we're all just along for a ride that's already been decided.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes the importance of subjective experience.
Okay.
It's like, imagine you've got a map with, say, a bunch of different routes, right?
Okay.
Some might be more scenic, some might be faster, but ultimately the path you choose, that's what shapes your journey.
And some paths might like lead to dead ends or at least make the journey a lot longer than it needs to be.
Exactly. And the source even suggests that religion, with its focus on moral guidance, spiritual practices, might actually provide a more reliable map for, for navigating this complex reality.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So it's not that the other paths are like totally invalid. It's just that maybe religion offers a more direct route to accessing those universal truths.
That's a great way to put it. The source actually uses the analogy of a sphere to kind of illustrate this point.
Oh, interesting. How so?
So our relative perspective, the one limited by our senses and experiences, it's like looking at just a tiny little portion of the sphere's surface.
Okay.
But religion, according to the source, is like experiencing the entire sphere, all its dimensions, all its complexities.
That gives you a much more complete understanding.
Precisely.
So it's about like expanding our perspective beyond our limited viewpoint to access a deeper, more multifaceted understanding of reality.
I got it. And here's where the source makes a really thought-provoking connection. It suggests that both religion and psychedelics have the potential to offer glimpses into these deeper truths.
Really? Even though, I mean, they seem like polar opposites, right?
Right. And this is where it gets super interesting, right? The source acknowledges those powerful experiences people talk about with psychedelics,
Yeah.
that feeling of connectedness, the profound insights.
But it seems like it's also saying there's more to the story.
Exactly. It acknowledges the potential of psychedelics for sure, but ultimately it argues that religion provides a safer and more comprehensive path to truly understanding these universal truths.
Hold on, safer. Even with all the, I mean, throughout history, you think about all the risks associated with certain religious practices. People have done some pretty messed up things in the name of religion, right?
You're absolutely right to point that out. And it's crucial to remember the source isn't advocating for any specific religion or endorsing harmful
No,
practices.
good point.
It's more focused on the core principles, the things you find across religious and spiritual traditions: ethical conduct, self-discipline, a gradual, grounded approach to seeking truth.
So it's not about blindly following dogma. It's about tapping into the wisdom, the practices that have been passed down, like, for generations, as potential pathways to a deeper understanding.
Exactly. The source is kind of suggesting that religion, at its core, offers this framework, a framework for integrating those profound experiences,
Yeah.
making sense of them within a larger context,
Yeah.
which might be something that's missing with, say, a purely psychedelic approach.
So it's like the difference between like having this brief but intense encounter versus building a lasting relationship. One might be like fleeting, potentially disorienting, but the other offers a more grounded, sustainable path to growth and understanding.
That is a fantastic analogy,
Right.
and the source really emphasizes this idea of dimensional depth of understanding.
Okay.
It says, like, imagine trying to understand a city by only looking at a flat map. You get a sense of the layout, sure, but you're missing so much. You're missing the texture, the energy, the layers of history.
Yeah.
Religion, it argues, is like experiencing that city in 3D, with all its complexity, its challenges, its hidden beauty.
Okay. So it's not just about having like a glimpse of something beyond our everyday reality. It's about developing the tools and practices to actually inhabit that expanded reality, to really understand its intricacies, to navigate its terrain with wisdom and compassion.
Exactly. And the source suggests that religion, while often misunderstood, offers this time-tested framework for doing just that.
Okay.
And again, it's not about blind faith. It's about engaging in practices that refine our perception, cultivate inner stillness, connect us to something much, much larger than ourselves.
It sounds like this whole deep dive is encouraging us to consider that maybe these seemingly opposite paths, like the structured world of religion and the often unpredictable realm of psychedelics, maybe they actually share a common thread, like a shared desire to connect with something that's beyond our ordinary understanding of reality.
That's a really, really insightful observation, and it gets right to the heart of this source's message. It challenges us to move past those rigid categories we create and explore the potential connections between seemingly totally different experiences.
So it's like psychedelics, they can kind of shake things up, right?
Yeah.
Rattle our perceptions and maybe even point us toward a deeper truth. But we're not really equipped with the tools to actually navigate that new terrain. And that's where religion comes in, offering a more structured approach to exploring these really profound concepts.
You've got it. It seems like the source is saying, yeah, the intensity of a psychedelic experience, that can be super alluring for sure. But it's the gradual, the disciplined approach that religion offers, the practices, that actually allows for real integration, real understanding.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, that's a good analogy. It's like the difference between like taking a weekend crash course on something versus, really immersing yourself in a subject over a lifetime.
I like that.
You might get a quick overview with the crash course, sure, but you're going to develop a much richer, more nuanced understanding through like sustained dedication, right?
Absolutely. And the source really emphasizes this idea of, it calls it dimensional depth of understanding.
Okay.
Imagine like trying to understand a city, a whole city, just by looking at a flat map.
Right.
You might get a sense of the layout, where
Right.
things are, but you're missing so much, right?
Yeah.
You miss the texture, the energy, the layers of history.
Right, right.
Religion, the source argues, is like experiencing that city in 3D. You see all of it, the complexity, the challenges, the hidden beauty.
So it's not just about like getting a glimpse of something beyond our everyday reality. It's about developing those tools, those practices to actually like, I don't know, inhabit that expanded reality, right? To understand it, to navigate it with like real wisdom and compassion.
Exactly. And the source suggests that religion, even though it's often misunderstood, offers a time-tested framework for doing that.
Okay.
And it's not about blind faith at all. It's about really engaging in practices that refine our perception, cultivate inner stillness, and ultimately connect us to something way, way larger than ourselves.
It really sounds like what this deep dive is getting at is maybe these two seemingly opposite paths, the structured world of religion and then like the often unpredictable, realm of psychedelics, maybe they actually share a common thread. Like
Yeah.
They both come from this shared desire to connect with something that's beyond our normal everyday understanding of reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a brilliant observation. And it really speaks to the core message of this whole source. It's an invitation to move beyond those rigid categories we make and explore the potential connections, even between things that seem totally different on the surface.
We've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about absolute and relative reality, the idea of universal potential, and then the roles that both religion and psychedelics might play in, expanding our understanding of ourselves, the universe, all of it.
Well, and maybe the biggest takeaway here, the most important thing, is that invitation to really question our assumptions.
Yeah.
That our current understanding of reality,
Yeah.
it might just be the tip of the iceberg. And that there are these pathways, some ancient, some more modern, that can guide us toward, a deeper, more expansive experience of being.
It's a good reminder that, hey, we're all on this journey of discovery, right?
Right.
And the map we choose, whether it's, rooted in tradition, informed by a personal exploration, or even like a blend of both, that's going to shape the whole landscape of our understanding. So, to everyone listening, we want to know what resonated with you from this deep dive. What path are you going to choose to explore further? Let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts.